Welcome back to Unleashing You. In today's episode, I speak with Kate Vazquez. Kate is a practitioner, mentor, speaker, author, and thought leader. She is the founder of Radiant by Design, which blends functional medicine, human design, and nervous system regulation for a unique approach that cultivates a deeper healing of the mind, body, and spirit. She guides women to overcome stress and physical imbalances in their body so they can have the courage to embrace the radiance of who they truly are. Today, Kate breaks down some of these concepts for us. She speaks about the physical symptoms that show up in our body when we're stressed, anxious, overwhelmed, you name it. This conversation was so powerful for me, and I know it will be for you too. Let's jump in. Before we begin, I want to make sure that you have the Unleashing You retreat on your radar, because just the fact that you're tuning into this podcast means the Unleashing You retreat is right up your alley. The reason I created the Unleashing You retreat is because as women, we tend to look to everyone else for the answers. We somehow think that everyone else knows better than we do, when in reality, tapping into your own intuition is actually the key to living a happy and fulfilled life. And that's how I've created the career and life I have now, and what we'll teach you how to do during this retreat. An inner shift like this will leave you with tools that you'll use for the rest of your life. This retreat is so much more than a girls' trip. This is a transformation. If I've piqued your interest, I want to personally invite you to join us in Steamboat Springs, Colorado on September 19th through the 22nd. During our time together, we will go through coaching workshops and other deep personal development activities that will uncover aspects of yourself you never even knew. Work like this would take months or years to do on your own, and we're going to get you there in just a few short days. Not to mention, we'll be staying in a gorgeous mountain home, complete with a private chef, so you don't have to lift a finger. If you are ready for a pampering getaway where you can recharge your batteries and feed your soul, send me a message on Instagram or visit acrprofessionalcoaching.com to learn more and reserve your spot. Spots are very limited, so do not wait. And I'll see you in the mountains. Now, let's get on to today's show. Welcome to Unleashing You. This podcast is your permission slip to create success your way. I'm your host, Amanda Riffey, a certified success coach and female business leader who has climbed her way up the corporate ladder. I've been through burnout and back and found the tools to bring fun and enjoyment to my career while creating powerful results and leading in a way that feels authentic to me. This show brings you conversations with women just like you who have created massive success for themselves and are doing it in their own way. We'll hear about their personal journeys of growing their career while still prioritizing the things they love most. If you are ready to be challenged and encouraged to reach your next level, then buckle up, sister, because the road to dreamy success begins here. Let's dive in. Kate, welcome to Unleashing You. I'm so excited to have you on.
Hi, Amanda. Thank you so much. I'm just so honored and blessed to be here and having this conversation with you today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm really excited for everyone to hear your story and just the tips that you have for all of us. I think this is going to be just such a meaningful conversation. So why don't we start out just talking about your career journey, because you have a career journey that really inspires me, and I'm sure it will inspire others as well. And you've really taken some bold action to get to where you are today. So can you kind of walk us through that journey so far?
Yeah, absolutely. And before our conversation, I was really reflecting back because it really truly has been a journey, but then everybody has their own unique, beautiful journey. And for me, I started off in my career as a physician assistant. I graduated in 2012 and jumped right in. And it's so crazy because that's 11 years ago. And if someone told me 11 years ago, as I'm starting out as a PA, because I thought that this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. But if someone said, you're going to become an entrepreneur and you're going to write a book and you're going to become a speaker, I would have been like, you're crazy. Because I didn't think I would ever write a book or be a speaker or even start my own business for that matter. I mean, that's why I became a PA, because I was like, PA school, medical school. When I learned about all the liability, all the responsibility, they have to own their own practice. I was like, no, I'd rather go be a PA. I'd rather play it safe and just jump into medicine because I really wanted to help people. I really wanted to help people. I love learning about the body when I was in high school and just like anatomy and how we're intricately designed. And I was so ready just to help people, but without all the liability and responsibility. And the benefits of being a PA was that I got to change specialties. I wasn't stuck. So I started off as a PA, but after a few years, I realized that it really wasn't what I expected and thought it was going to be. Like what I learned was just, people were getting, sick and they had all these issues. So we run the tests and we'd come up with a diagnosis and prescribe a bunch of medications. And when I was in the urgent care, it's just, urgent things. It's not like we manage any diseases or things like that. But I kept seeing the same people over and over again. They're like, why am I not getting better? Why are these medications not helping? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I can't help you. But deep down inside, I'm like, I wanted to help them. I just didn't know how. But at the same time, this was around 2016. I started to just feel really stressed out and overwhelmed because I realized I wasn't really happy and fulfilled in my career anymore. And then not only that, my husband and I were a year in our marriage. I married my best friend, my soulmate, but that first year was very challenging. Just because we had to learn how to live with each other and think about each other. And I just also was not in a healthy place mentally and emotionally because of all the stress, all the stuff. I was just like stuffing things down. I felt like I was carrying the weight of the world, taking things personally, constantly ruminating on things that happened, things I should have done, could have done. And I was just always constantly, worried about my license, the liability, making sure I did things the right way. But also, just would take little small things. It would bother me, especially I remember driving to work and like someone would cut me off and I would just get so stressed out about it. And then I'd get to work and I'd like tell about all the coworkers about how I got cut off that day. And I realized like all these little things were just bothering me and they were all building up. And so I'd come home and vent out to my husband everything that happened to the day, during the day. And I remember it just got to a point, after about a year. I would also end up in mental and emotional breakdowns. And because I just couldn't handle my emotions and it got to a point, there was this day in 2016 where we had gotten into an argument because that's usually what happened. And I remember sitting on our old ugly leather brown couch, which is like one of the few pieces of furniture we had back then as newlyweds. But I remember just looking at him and just seeing the sadness and happiness in his eyes. And he's like, I don't know how much longer I can keep doing this, because of all the mental, emotional breakdowns I was having. It was like almost weekly. And he just didn't know how he could help me. And he was contemplating a divorce. And when he said that, like my heart shattered in 1,000 pieces. And I just was like trembling, holding back tears. And I was like, this can't be happening. Like, this is my best friend. This is my soulmate. And then I'm like thinking, what did I do wrong? I'm not good enough. Why couldn't I make him happy? All these thoughts just come flooding in, but also deep down inside, I realized like divorce is not an option. And so I share this with you because this was a really pivotal time where just stress from work, stress in my relationship and my marriage. And I realized like something needed to change. If we were headed down in the direction of divorce, I also just was experiencing things physically in my body, completely exhausted, fatigue, so much tightness and tension in my muscles. I had migraines since I was a child, but they had just gotten progressively worse. A lot of gut issues, constipation, and gas, as well as bloating. And so, yeah, just so many things were happening in my life, and I knew something needed to change. And so I'm grateful my husband never went through with the divorce. Instead, he sent me off to Tony Robbins' Unleash the Power Within, because that was something he did and helped him understand the power of the mind, because he had gone through a lot of stuff in his life and it helped to change his life. So he's like, all right, if I can't help her, maybe Tony Robbins can. And so for the first time, I really understood the power of the mind. I recognized that I had limiting beliefs, like I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy. I also was living in an emotional home called anxiety, which is why I was experiencing so much worry, so much doubt, so much overwhelm and frustration. And not long after that event, I also came across Dr. Mark Hyman, who is a functional medicine practitioner, and started learning about a different way of practicing medicine, of actually getting to the root cause and looking how all the systems were integrated and realizing everything I was feeling physically in my body, there was a cause. And unfortunately, Western medicine wasn't able to help me get to the root cause. Even after, being a PA and learning everything, I realized like, no, there was more to the picture than we were missed. So my husband and I decided to go to Date with Destiny that same year. And at that event, I felt God just like really call to me and say, you should start your own functional medicine practice. And so here's where the bold action comes into play, because I'm like, what? I know nothing about a business. I'm like, I'm a PA. I didn't get a business degree. So I'm like, I'm supposed to start a business. And I did not feel like I knew enough, that I was worthy. And I'm like, wait, let me go shadow a PA first, which I found. I found a PA that was local who had her own practice and was shadowing her, hoping to get hired by her, because I'm like, I wanted to get experience first, but it didn't work out. And I remember praying to God, like, what should I do? And again, he's like, start your own practice. So I did. I finally listened, because he said, I'm going to be with you every step of the way. And so I knew like I just had to take it one step at a time. Like I was going to learn and just be open to it all. And fun fact, when people start their own business, they don't need a business degree. Actually, I think that the more successful entrepreneurs are the ones that didn't have a business degree or go to college for that matter. So that was also reassuring, just recognizing that there were so many people that started their own business that actually were successful without having all the background, having all the knowledge. And so diving in, functional medicine, starting my business. I started Radiant Health because I was in a float tank once and just floating. And it came to me, I realized I want people to radiate from the inside out, because I truly believe when we have our health, we literally radiate. So I started working on my own self while I also started the business, and realized, all the things that I had learned, I started applying it. I started healing my gut. My energy came back. And I was also on birth control at the time for acne for many, many years. So I was actually able to come off of it and clear my skin. And so I started the business the same time I was working as a PA full time, until a couple years later when I was finally able to transition out and do it full time. So it's definitely been a journey, because, when we switch careers like that, it definitely can be scary. We may not know exactly what to do, but we just have to keep having the faith that it's all going to work out. It's all going to fall into place. It's all going to happen. But the story doesn't end there. So even though I worked on healing a lot of the physical symptoms I was experiencing, I still continued to have anxiety and migraines, even though I learned about mindset. So I was like, okay, well, what's going on? What else am I missing? And so I went on a journey of going into plant medicine, doing ayahuasca, and then went to Dr. Joe Dispenza events, like just wanting to learn more. And that's when I finally really understood that, we have a beautiful nervous system. And a lot of the times we're dysregulated. I recognized that I was constantly living in a survival state, and I was still in a little bit of a survival state, because even though I was working on things physically, like changing my diet and yoga and meditation and taking all these supplements and getting sleep and exercise, I still hadn't learned how to really fully regulate my nervous system. And this is where the deep inner work comes into play, because I really had to dig deep and really understand, like, where are these beliefs coming from, how powerful the thoughts are impacting our health, and just really understanding energy, because our emotions are energy in motion. And so anxiety, for example, it's a low vibrating energetic emotion. And what I realized is that that's a sign of living in a sympathetic state, in a state of survival. And so it was really, really powerful for me to really start understanding and implementing these pieces and learning to regulate my nervous system. And that's when I really started to shift. When the migraine started to improve, I started to shift out of the state of anxiety into a state that I really wanted to be in, which was peace and happiness and love. And so then the Radiant Health started to shift into something called Radiant by Design. So that has been an incredible journey just doing that, and has led me to this place and where I am now.
Yeah. Oh, so many things to unpack in what you just shared with us. So one of the things that you said that I want to reinforce here is when I am speaking with women who are thinking about starting their own business, almost every single time we feel, myself included, like we don't know enough to be able to do that. And I have heard quoted exactly what you said of, I don't have a business degree, so I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not qualified to do this. We heard this actually on one of our previous episodes with another guest and just other women that I talk with. And I promise you, I did get a degree in business and I still didn't feel like I knew what I was doing. So I love that, just taking that action and just knowing, hey, if I have something on my heart, it's there for a reason. And maybe it's not starting your own business. Maybe it's switching careers. Maybe it's, moving into a whole nother field, or, starting up a side hustle, right? Whatever that might be for you. But I love that you mentioned that, because I think that's just so, so important. I hope you're enjoying today's episode. I wanted to quickly interrupt to invite you to experience the power of coaching on demand. I've packaged up some of my favorite coaching tools and sharing access with you for free. Would you love to discover who you truly want to become 10 years from today, or work through limiting beliefs that have been holding you back from your next level of success? Send me a message on Instagram or click the link in the show notes to access your free coaching tools. Your road to dreamy success begins here. Now, back to the episode. And the other piece that I want to ask you about is the piece around your nervous system. And so could you give us like the 30-second commercial on why we should be paying attention to regulating our nervous system?
Oh my goodness. I believe regulating our nervous system is key. It's key to supporting our energy and how we show up every single day. Because I wasn't operating at my best, at the highest capacity, when I was dysregulated, when I was constantly feeling anxious. Especially for me as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as I'm like constantly learning and growing and creating, I am not able to tap into my creativity if I'm anxious and stressed out and overwhelmed and frustrated. And so it's so important, whether, we're in a business or we're in a corporate career working for someone else, in order for us to really show up in our fullest potential, or even if you're just a mom too, we cannot show up in our full potential when we're stressed out and anxious, overwhelmed, whatever that is. And so, it's something that's not talked about enough. And thankfully, there's a lot of people that are talking about nervous system regulation, but I don't think people really understand. And actually, I had this conversation with a friend of mine the other day, because she is doing some microdosing to regulate her nervous system. But she's like, I didn't realize I would come face to face with all these emotions. Now, granted, I'm like, you don't have to microdose to do that. We are going to experience emotions every single day. And I still experience emotion. Like yesterday, I actually had some emotions coming up because of event that I didn't go to, and I'm seeing other people at this event, and all these emotions started coming up, and I had to sit with them. I had to process and release them. And if I had not, I would still be feeling them today. And instead, no, I feel good. I feel happy. I feel peace. I feel free because I know how to regulate my nervous system. And so that's really what it is about, is recognizing when it's like building this awareness and tuning in. How do you feel emotionally, but also how do you feel physically in your body? Because our emotions are going to reveal what state we're in, whether we are what I call a sympathetic or survival state, or if we're in a parasympathetic or what I call a flow or healed state. And so when we're in this flow state, that's when we can create. That's when we are energized. That's when we're in flow and just things just happen so easily. But when we're in that survival state, life feels like a struggle. Life feels hard. And you're just like, can I get a break finally?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that just stuck with me in what you just went through is, number one, the awareness of when we feel those emotions coming up, and not only just the emotions, but partnered then with the physical symptoms that we're feeling in our body. And, so often we either want to just hang out there for a really long time or compartmentalize and move that, okay, that's over here. And now I'm just going to ignore that and come over here. And so just the importance of really feeling through those emotions, because they're there for a reason, and, teaching your body that you are safe. And, I think you and I both have done a lot of inner work on these things as well, especially in starting our own businesses. That's when those limiting beliefs just like come up all the time, and we're constantly doing things that scare us. And one thing that I do a lot right now that I learned from Kate Northrup in one of her courses was the concept of havening. And that can be used, in a lot of different ways, but, just physically just rubbing your hands on your arms and really just showing your body that you are safe in that moment. So when you feel that anxiousness come up, or you're terrified to do something, or even, before you have a public speaking event or a big presentation at work, just being able to show your body, hey, this is actually okay. You're safe. You don't, need to go into, a freeze or, a flight type of situation. Can you talk to us a little bit more about some of the physical and emotional symptoms? Because you work with clients on this front all the time. And, and many of us might have physical symptoms or emotional symptoms that are popping up for us that we might not even realize are related to not living, truly in what I would call alignment, or, when we are overstressed or overwhelmed. Like, how does that show up in our body?
Yeah, absolutely. And I do want to also add, one of the things that I do to help me feel safe is I'll put my hands over my heart. And I'll just take a couple breaths and I'll say, like, I am safe. I am okay. I've done that many, many times. But yeah, as far as the physical and emotional symptoms that we'll experience, actually, one of the things I asked in my questionnaire is, do you feel any physical sensations in your body, like tightness or tension, and where? And most of my clients feel it in their neck, shoulder, or upper back, or all.
Me too.
Because I too felt that for many, many years. Actually, I had chronic neck pain, and I was like that type of person, high achiever, perfectionist, where I just like push, go, go, go. Felt a little pain. It's fine. It's not a big deal. Keep going. But it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And I had so much pain in my neck up till a few years ago that every time I woke up, I was in so much pain. And sometimes I would have neck spasms. Like I could barely even turn my neck because all the muscles were so tight and tense. And every time I get a massage, the massage therapist is going at it in the left trap because that was like a rock all the time. And if you think about it, when you're in a sympathetic or survival state, all the muscles are going to get tight and tense. That's why we feel that. And a lot of the clients that I work with, they have work stress, family stress, financial stress. Those are 3 common stressors that they're going through. And so it's like, all right, let's work through this, because I'm going to work on the physical side of things and help them feel physically better. But I also recognize like the deeper work, especially when it comes to healing, is also mental and emotional. And so some of the other physical symptoms that they'll experience is, just fatigue. They're exhausted because when you're in that survival state, your adrenals are pumping out cortisol. But after a matter of time, like cortisol is going to start to drop off. It's not going to be able to keep up with the demand. And that's when we're exhausted because cortisol, it gives us energy, but not for long, not for long periods. We start to feel exhausted, but also gut issues too. I had a lot of constipation and bloating because of stress. Like studies show, like stress kills off our good gut bacteria. And also when our nervous system is in survival, it's going to slow down signals to our gut. It's going to slow down digestion. It's going to slow down breaking down food. Even if you're eating healthy food, that's why a lot of my clients are experiencing, they're like, yeah, I'm eating healthy, I'm eating organic, but I don't get it. I'm like, I'm still bloated. I'm like, well, yeah, there's still some, I'm like, but are you stressed? Okay, let's work on that, but let's also work on the gut too. And also migraines and headaches. I had migraines for years since I was a child and they got worse and worse. And yeah, the doctor said, oh, it's probably stress. I'm like, okay, great. Thanks. Well, what should I do about stress? Oh, here's a pill. I'm like, no, I don't want to take a pill. None of the doctors taught me how to adapt to stress. And so, initially I did yoga and meditation, but then I realized it's so much deeper than that. That's why the deeper inner work is so important. But also mentally and emotionally, it's like experiencing anxiety, frustration, fear, worry, resentment, disappointment, also just like overthinking, overanalyzing. I was constantly overthinking, overanalyzing. And that's because I was in that survival state. So those are some of the common physical and emotional manifestations.
Oh, yes. And oh my gosh, I can just relate to so much of what you're saying in terms of bloating. That's something that I struggle with off and on all the time. Migraines, I get hormonal migraines, but what's interesting is some months are stronger than others. And there's not necessarily, you'd be like, oh yeah, it's just that time of the month. But why, some months are they stronger than others? The other thing that at least for me personally is also I hold a lot in my jaw. So I have had to go to the doctor before because I could barely open my jaw and just realize that was all from tension and stress. And so now that I'm aware of that, I can do so many more things to make sure that I'm not holding that stress in my neck, my jaw, my shoulders.
I had TMJ too. And I'm like, it was just from clenching, grinding my teeth. So they give you a mouth guard. But of course, that's not going to help because you're so stressed out that the muscles tight. So there's so much that Western medicine doesn't look at and address and actually work with the person to see, okay, where's the stress coming from, and actually help them to regulate their nervous system so they can shift out of that fight or flight, that survival state back into, that flowed heal state.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I love just being able to get to the root of what's going on there. So I know we're running low on time, and I want to make sure, Kate, that our listeners know how they can connect with you or work with you if, they're listening in on this conversation and they're like, yep, I've got all of those things. Help me. So where can they connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me on Instagram at the Kate Vazquez, and that's Vazquez with double Z's. So Vazquez. And reach out to me. If you have any questions, send me a direct message. I am so happy to respond in the direct messages. If you have any questions, I love engaging with people there. But also if you're curious and want to learn more about nervous system regulation, or even just like looking at the physical side of things, what's going on, looking into the gut, looking into the hormones, the adrenals, I do testing and all that. You can hop on a free 30-minute consultation. Just go to my website, radiantbydesign.com. And I also have a podcast course. So it's like, okay, you're not ready to go in deeper, but you do want to learn a little bit about like the mindset and nervous system regulation. That's where I created Already Enough, the podcast course. It's literally 30 episodes, 5 to 15 minutes each, which is great because I knew everybody's busy on the go. So I wanted to give bite-sized information that you need to know to get started, to start regulating your nervous system, learning about thoughts, how it's affecting your body. And yeah, just little things that you can start taking action right away to make a huge, huge difference. In fact, someone on the other side of the world in Thailand took my course. And when I first launched it, within 3 days went from feeling depressed to peace. Wow. And she was working with a therapist at the time. So, so that says a lot. Like her taking my course got her so much, she got so many shifts in her nervous system and her body to feel so much peace that she hadn't felt before. It was really, really incredible. So this course is really, really powerful. And you can find that, on Instagram or my website as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will make sure that we link your Instagram as well as your website in the show notes for our listeners too. Kate, thank you so much. I have truly enjoyed this conversation. I think folks are going to get a lot out of that. And I know you also specialize in a lot of other areas too. So who knows, maybe we'll have you on for a future episode and we can dig into some other areas where we can just live really, truly to who we are and just feel our best every single day. So thank you so much, Kate.
Absolutely. Thank you as well, Amanda.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. If you would like to continue the conversation, connect with me on Instagram and say hello. You can find me at AmandaRiffy_coaching. In the meantime, if you know you are ready to say yes to yourself and find an incredible support system of other female business leaders just like you, then visit my website at acrprofessionalcoaching.com or send me a DM on Instagram to find out more about the Leadership Legacy Circle enrolling now. This program is a 2-month exclusive and transformative group coaching and learning experience that will allow you to feel so aligned in leadership while creating fantastic results at both work and at home. Don't wait, the next group is beginning soon. Chat with you again later.